Hi everyone, it's me, Kelly. This is my live stream that I had been promoting, I think over yesterday. So what I'm going to be doing today is an autumn makeup look. Something you can wear for the autumn. I mean, you can wear it now, but I'm just inspired by it almost being my favorite time of the year, so here we are now. It's going to be more of a dark lip and kind of an orangey tone eye. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this live stream tutorial. I've never really done one of these, so bear with me. First, I'm just going to moisturize my Caudalie Venusaur's Cream Sorbet. It's one of my favorite moisturizers. Before you begin like doing makeup, you should always make sure that you start with a good base, a good moisturized base. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of lip scrub because I'll be using a darker color. I don't want the flakes to show as much as they would show if I didn't use this. So you just scrub it. I'm using Jeffree Star's pineapple juice. Tastes just like pineapple. Very good. Now that we started with that, oh, there we go. You always have to scrub off the rest of it. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me. So I'm gonna be using the new Pat McGrath primer. A little of this goes a long way, which is the same in the case of most primers. You don't always have to start with a primer, but I just like it because I feel like it makes my makeup last longer and all throughout the day, even out in this Florida heat and Florida rain, because it's been raining a lot. So you just kind of work that in to your face. There we go. I'm excited for fall. It's my favorite time of year. I'm going to be going in with the Pat McGrath Labs foundation in the shade Light 7. I'm excited for fall. It's my favorite time of year. Going in with a brush because this foundation works so much better with a brush. I'm excited to see pumpkins, pumpkin everything, autumn fashion, autumn makeup like we're doing today. I'm really excited for haunts though, particularly this new one in Orlando that's coming called Dark Horizons. Really excited for that. I guess the owners were from California. They had a huge haunt over there and now they're expanding. I think they're gonna give everyone a run for their money because all the the promos and stuff that I've seen, I don't know, looks pretty cool if you ask me. Definitely gonna have to check that out. I also know some people that are acting in it, so gotta go support my friends. So I always like to do up in the hairline and the ears and down the neck just because I like making everything one solid color. Sometimes your face is either a little bit darker or a little bit lighter than the rest of your body, and your hairline tends to be a little bit lighter. I just like it all one color. Let me see. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to go in with, let me see, a concealer. Sorry, I had to find it. And this is the Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. It's really good for under eyes. I'm only going to be adding a little bit of concealer today. I have a boo-boo there. Yeah. In this Florida heat and everything, I don't like to wear a full cakey face of makeup just because it'll probably melt off, or die. So I can tell you this Pat McGrath foundation is so good. The day I tested it out, it didn't budge. It was thunderstorming, it was raining, it was also randomly hot, like overheating, like sweat everywhere, but it stayed. Just dabbing this. I'm using this concealer brush. It's the Sephora Pro Airbrush Detail in 57, just because it acts like a little finger, like as if you're dabbing. I love it a lot. You just want to dab. You never want to go like this. Like, don't like streak it, because if you do that, you're just gonna, the makeup's gonna lift and just move. So if you dab it, you're just pushing it right into place. There we go. One more spot. I always get asked about how I have like really nice skin. Honestly, moisturize and take your makeup off before bed, because that's a big mistake a lot of people don't do. Is a lot of people don't take their makeup off before bed, and like the bacteria from that builds up and goes into your pores and everything, and that's not good. Okie dokie. I'm taking a powder brush. It's a flat powder brush, and I'm taking the Pat McGrath powder, which is very finely milled, so I have to kind of like lean away from it. And we're gonna press the powder on the places where we put concealer. We're gonna pack it on, meaning to continuously like put powder on, just because the longer you let it, what's called bake, the longer it will have your makeup last and not crease. Under eye is a big area. Like even if I'm not powdering the rest of my face, I'll make sure that I do my under eye area. That way the concealer does not crease throughout the day. It's also nice to use when you're using like pigmented colors and like eyeshadows, because it helps stop fallout, which is like when you put an eyeshadow on, you know how sometimes like the powder will go down like onto your concealer. If you put the powder there, once you're done, you just sweep it off and the eyeshadow fallout goes with it. So there's a little tidbit of knowledge. It's just so finely milled. Okay, so now that that is done, I am going to do my eyebrows. Let me see here. We are going to take my favorite eyebrow Jeffree Star Morphe brush. We're going to brush our eyebrows into place. I have more straight eyebrows, so they're not going to have that much of a curve to them, but we make do with what we have. Am I right? Oops. So I'm using the Urban Decay Brow Blade. It has two ends. One of them is more of a pen, like a liquid pen end. The other one is more of a pencil. I'm going to be using both of them, but we're going to start off with the pencil. Let me just grab. I always have to have a close-up mirror. That way I can see what I'm doing. Now remember, eyebrows are not twins. They are sisters. So it's okay if one of them is a little bit different than the other one. So I just like draw along my natural brow. Like I always start with the bottom and then I build up. That way it can look as natural as it possibly can. So there we go. I just follow along. And then if you mess up, don't worry, that's what concealer is for. Sorry, I tend to to not talk as much when I do my eyebrows because I am laser focused. So I'm going to take that brush and I just brush it throughout the brow. It kind of, if there's any like pencil that just like clumped when you were putting it on, this just kind of helps like distribute it through the brow. Just gonna go back in. Now I'm just gonna go to the pin side and do a little bit in the end. I only do the pin on the like the back of my brow because it tends to be darker there than in the front. And I always use little brush stroke motions so that it can mimic natural brow hairs. And then once again, I'm going to go back with my little brush and brush through the brow. There we go. And then when I'm done with this brow, I'm gonna be using a colored brow gel to make sure that everything stays in place, which is also really important. I like to use my natural brow color, like the darker brown, even though I'm blonde right now, just because of my features. So I feel like if I tried to go too light, it wouldn't look as nice. So we're just gonna do the same thing with this brow. You probably can't see as much because this is in the way, but we're doing the same exact thing. Brushing it through on this brow. Yeah, we like to have a little bit of a Daenerys Targaryen moment here with the blonde hair, dark brows, because she's a queen. Okay, so again with this side, we're doing the same thing with the pen. Small brush strokes throughout the middle to back part of the brow. Okay. And now we're going to finish the brow with this and then the brow gel. Thank you to everyone who is joining me right now and commenting. You'll two little brows. So now, as I said, we're just gonna use it's the same brand, Urban Decay Brow Endowed. It's just a thin little brush, and I just kind of work it through the brow. That way all the hairs stay in place throughout the day. There. So now I'm going to do a quick contour. During the day, I don't do as much contour as I would during the night, as if I go anywhere at night, which I don't. So I use the Too Faced Cocoa Contour and the lightest shade down here. It smells like cocoa. It's a little bit of a lighter contour, like a cooler tone contour powder, which I like because I'm more cool toned. I'm going to be using my favorite Real Techniques brush. It's thin so that you can get into the cheekbones. So I'm just gonna dab it and then brush it. Always use a light hand when you're contouring. And don't be afraid to build up the contour. See that? See how just a little bit goes a long way. So now we're just doing the same thing to the chin. And now the forehead. We'll also be adding bronzer, but a light bronzer to also add to this look. Okay. Now we're going to use, I use a separate brush to contour my nose, so it's this really tiny one from Morphe Cosmetics. It is the E62. Again, same color. I always tap to get excess powder off, and we're gonna lightly brush it on the nose. You know, you don't want to go too crazy. You want to make it look at least somewhat realistic. I always go up here to the eyebrow. A little bit more. You can also contour your bottom lip if you want it to look a little bit vavoom. I don't know what just happened. Okay, so now that that's over, I'm going to brush off all of the powder on my face except for the under eye, and that's because we'll be doing eyes. So I'm going to take my Jeffree Star Morphe brush, brush the powder. Okay, so now let me use my eye primer. You can use concealer, MAC Paint Pot, and ochre, or whatever you want to use, but I prefer to use my Urban Decay primer in Eden. What this does is it makes the pigment more colorful. It also helps your eyeshadow to stay on. I know that a bunch of makeup brands make really good eyeshadow primers, including like Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm waiting for Pat McGrath to make one. I feel like that would be a really good one. So I'm just going to take a flat brush and just blend it all over the eye. There. See how it just kind of blends in? It just makes you a nice clean slate. Okay, so the look that we are going for is a kind of like orangey, like rustic eye. So I'm going to be using 3 palettes. I'm going to be using the new ColourPop Cosmetics Orange You Glad palette, all oranges, if you couldn't guess. The Jeffree Star Mini Jawbreaker palette for this shade right here. And then the Lawless, the one palette, which it's the perfect fall palette. Yeah, all fall colors. So we're going to start off with the color pop. I'm going to continuously be going back and forth through all three of these, so just bear with me. So I'm going to take, let me see, this brush from ColourPop, or what is this? Morphe. I always get confused because of the colors. Okay, so we're going to take this brush from Morphe and we're going to dip into the lightest color, Zested. It's like a creamy, light orange color. And we're gonna blend that up here, right above the crease, so that we can use it as our blending color. And we're going to be using circular motions. That way we can make sure it is nice, even, and blended. And if you see me tapping, that's to tap off all of the excess powder, because that helps lessen the amount of fallout. Okay. Now, I'm going to dip into Creamsicle and go a little bit below that. Again, the same motions. Get more in my brush. And just blend it together with the other one. Okie dokie. So now that we have done that, I'm going to go into my mini breaker palette for that double scoop color I was telling you about. We are going to take a tiny bit of that and put it over where we just did, just to add a little bit more depth to it. We'll be using a few different orange colors, so just bear with me. Again, same motions. I don't know, what colors do you guys think of when you think of autumn? I always think of oranges and browns, just very rustic-y colors. Rustic-y. That's not a word, but you get what I mean. So now I'm going to take my Game of Thrones Urban Decay brush and go into my Lawless palette for Liwan and dip into two colors, Next Level and Feels. I'm going to be mixing them together and then using it as one shadow. I'm going to hold it like this. I can't hold it by the sword end. Okay. I'm going to go underneath that and more towards the center of the eyelid. I'm just so ready for fall. I just wish that Florida actually got seasons and cold weather. So now that we did that, we're going back into the same palette and going into Complicated. It's like a mustardy brown color. That's the best way that I can describe it. I wish I had a better way to describe it, but that is the best way. Let me see. Okay, so I am going in with this brush and we are going along more of the edges and around the crease, just because I want to give it a little bit more of a rustic-y feel instead of a brighter orange feel, if you know what I mean. There we go. We're gonna blend that out. Okay. I'm happy with that. So now, I have to keep all of these on hand. Let me see. Now I'm going into my, well, back into the ColourPop Cosmetics palette. And let me grab my small little brush. And we're going into the darker color here. It's like a dark orange. Oh, I love yellow. A darker orange color with this little brush. So we're just gonna dip into that. This palette is so pigmented. I love it. So we're going into the outer third and just blending that in. Bring it a little bit, just blending, and a little bit on the inner corner. We're gonna be blending everything together with another brush soon, but we're doing this first. Okay. So now we're doing the same thing on the other eye. And we are now going to go back with our, let me see, our concealer. I know you're probably a concealer. We're going to do a small dot here. That way when we put a shiny color over it, it'll be more pigmented and not be put like directly over the other colors. Tiny dot. So little goes a long way. I'm going to use the same brush we used for the eyeshadow primer. And just dab. See how it kind of creates a little bit of a clean plate? Okay. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, now we are going, let me see. Okay, we're going back into the Orange You Glad palette and we're mixing these two shiny colors right here. We're going to use this little flat brush tap the excess off, and we're going to press it. We're not going to do circular motions like before. We're going to press it. That way we can press it into the eyeball. And now over this, I am going to put a little bit more of a bronzy color. Let me see which one I'm looking at. Okay. We will be using, oh, there we go. We're going to be using a little bit of this Foreplay color from this mini Jawbreaker palette. And just press that over it to kind of blend with it. Perfect. Now I'm just going to be taking this brush and blending the edges in. That way we don't have anything that looks weird. Hello. Okay. And now let me take my fluffy brush from before and blend the edges before we move on to the bottom. I was thinking of doing eyeliner, but then I decided not to because we're doing a darker lip. So that's the top. I wish my lighting was better so I can go closer to the camera, but it's not. So now we're going to take the same fluffy brush and we're going to brush off the fallout and the powder. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now we are, sorry, it's not going back. Now we're going back with our small brush and we will be using this palette for the under eye. We're only going to use a few colors for the under eye section for under the eye, but that's because I don't want it to look too crazy. So we're gonna meet, you see that? We're gonna meet where that color, the top color, was and just blend. And we're using the lightest color first. Now we are going to use the creamsicle color and do the same thing, but a little bit closer to the eyeball. And now lastly we are going to use the darkest color, the Appeal color, and we are going to do the outer third of the eye first and kind of meet with the top. Bring it down to about the center of the eye. We're going to do that on the same side. And down to the middle. Then I'm going to use this one and just buff the edges. So there aren't any harsh lines. Okay. So this is the eye so far. Now we're going to just add our inner corners, and we will be using the Ritual de Fil in the shade Fornax. This is the Celestial Sphere Eye Suit. I really love this. It's kind of like a gel consistency, but it looks really beautiful on the eye. So I'm going to be using this very thin and precise pencil, our eye brush, eye brush, and we're going to put that on the inner corner. Yeah. See how it just brightens up? And we're gonna put a little underneath the eyebrow for a little highlight. This just brightens your eye a little bit and just adds a little something else to your eye look. Just makes it really pretty, in other words. Okay, so we're done with that. Now I'm going to put on my mascara. I'm using the Milk Kush mascara. I usually only do one coat of this because it's very thick and I don't want it flaking. So you just wiggle. I know some people roll, but I wiggle my brush to get as close as I can to the base of the eyelash. Same with the under eye, you always want to be careful. So I always use like the tip of the brush when I do the under, like the bottom eyelashes, just because I don't want to streak and get mascara everywhere over what I had just done. Now onto the next eye. Again, we wiggle or roll. Yeah, you see how one coat is really all you really need with this mascara? You can find this mascara at Sephora and anywhere that sells Milk makeup products. It's a really good brand. Definitely would recommend them. So now that that's done, so this is the complete eye. Now I'm going to do my Fenty Beauty bronzer in Shady Biz. I like this bronzer because it's more of a neutrally cool tone bronzer. It's just nice because there aren't a lot of cool tone bronzers out there. So it's nice that someone made one for us cool toned or neutral tone gals. Just going in where I had contoured, warming it up a little bit more. Tip of the nose. I know I'm a pretty pale person. It takes a lot for me to try to look bronzy, but bronzer helps me get there. Okay, now we're doing blush. The third to last thing, or fourth to last. Blush, and this is the Lime Crime Software Blush in Hot Spot. It is bright red, okay? But let me tell you, it's amazing, and it does not come out as bright red as it looks like it would. So I'm just taking a slanted blush brush and dabbing it, and then I'm gonna I kind of go through sweeping motions and then dabbing motions on my cheeks. And then I always put a little bit on my nose, especially because this is a autumn look, to make it look like it's a little chilly outside. The air is a little crispy, even though I'm in not someplace cold. And I'm going to now highlight with my Jeffree Star highlighting brush with his new Brain Freeze palette in the shade Gold Breaker, which is the middle one. It has flecks of blue, red, gold. And we're just gonna do a little bit along the cheekbone in little back and forth motions. Don't drag it down here. Don't drag it too high. You can go up a little bit, but I feel like if you do too much with it, it just makes you look greasy. There we go. Other side. Yeah, you always want to stay on the tip of your cheekbone. And then tip of nose. Bridge of the nose. Excuse me. You can do the upper lip a little bit. And then the chin, just to add a little bit of shine, and then a little bit above the eyebrow and under the eyebrow. There. And now we are onto the lips. So since this is a fall look, I will be going in with a dark wine lip. First, we are starting with this lip crayon from Chanel and Black Currant. And I love these because you can draw and then fill it in. So let's begin. I always follow my natural lip line. Feel free to draw outside your natural lip line, but don't draw too much. I always kind of rub my lips like this. That way I can see my, like, just do a little bit of my top lip. So now that I did the lip crayon, I'm going to go over it with my Urban Decay Game of Thrones White Walker lipstick. I like an extra layer, so I go in with this lipstick, which is the same exact color. It's a perfect match. I just smooth that on. There. So now the very last step that I always do is setting spray. Now you don't have to use setting spray. I use it because it makes me feel bougie and special. So I always shake it, hold it away from my face, and I spray. 1, 2, 3. Bougie. So that is it. This is my final look for my autumn makeup tutorial. I hope you liked this live stream. Let me know if I should do another live stream like this one or something Halloween-y. I don't know. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in.